What is up, residents of the Meister clan? This is your boy Sixmysta man coming at y'all with a brand new video. So today we're gonna go over part 3 to what if Naruto and Hinata got together early. But before we do, I just like to point out that yesterday I had a theory video go out on how Kurama might be able to come back in alternate ways. And yeah, that's on the main channel. It came out just before this video, and tomorrow another one's going to be coming out. And on those videos I am talking about the free merch and stuff that's going to be held in the competition. If y'all want to know more about the merch and stuff, make sure to go check out those videos. They're pretty dope. They're not scripted like these, but yeah. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Last time we left off with Naruto and Hinata and Sasuke finally becoming Team 7. So Team 7 per se is the tactical attack force, which consists of a close range fighter being Hinata, a mid to close range fighter being Naruto, and a long to close range fighter being Sasuke, being able to have that as their main focuses around time. And yeah, so this time we're not really going to go into the 1 month training period they had. Instead, we're going to go into the following arc. I'm going to have some things happen within that training time, with Kakashi obviously teaching Sasuke things like water and tree walking, which I really always want to speed up, and Naruto and Hinata just practicing their hand-to-hand or taijutsu per se, with Naruto obviously using the shadow clone to speed up progression. He would not know the shadow clone trick per se yet, because I don't want to make him too OP from the start, but he does usually make around 3 to 10 shadow clones when fighting. Sure, they're not as effective as they were in canon due to how he fights, not as recklessly, but in a more stable fighting position. Sure, it gives him some sort of an advantage when it comes to shadow clones, but it could also be predicted, unlike how he fought in canon. So we're going to start off with them completing their missions for the month, and all of them being adamant to go 1-up. For Naruto, this is because he really wants to prove himself, same for Sasuke. But for Hinata, it's more of her confidence is finally there, and she wants to keep growing. So she would also pitch in, and Kakashi would believe they're more than ready. So by the time that they get to the Hokage's office, Kakashi would be like, yo, I think my team deserves a better mission. Hiruzen would accept it and would call in Tazuna. Obviously, Iruka would be kind of skeptical, and Kakashi would say that, Iruka, we both know I'm the best Jonin in the leaf. So if I were you, I'd just mind my own business. Obviously not in that exact words, but something along those lines. And as this continues, we'd obviously have Tazuna come in and be like, yo, insulting everyone. And as he's about to insult the girl with the pale eyes, Naruto's like, don't even try it. You can insult me and my friend over here, but if you insult her, I will literally remove your testicles from your body. So this obviously makes him gulp, but whatever, he's drunken anyway. So an hour till they need to meet up. Naruto would say he'd go to his place, Hinata goes to her place, and Sasuke would do whatever the hell Sasuke does. So we'd go for them meeting back up, at least Sasuke being there already because he's a loner, he don't really know much. Hinata and Naruto getting their stuff. Naruto, after getting his stuff, pop by the Hyuga compound to get some shinobi tools, because they do really allow Naruto to do most things there, because to them, Naruto is a part of the Hyuga clan at this point. Hiyashi would ask Hinata, is this her first C rank? And Naruto would be there like, yeah, don't worry about it, Pops. I'll take care of her. And when it comes to saying Pops, the thing is, it's more like Hiyashi being his father figure and not the kind of Pops y'all thinking about, but whatever. We'd move on to them traveling, and Hinata constantly keeping her Byakugan open as training for herself, and Naruto and Sasuke kind of just walking, because why not? Eventually, when they do get to the puddle, Hinata would point out that that's a genjutsu, and she can see 2 people standing right there. Naruto and Sasuke would engage. The 2 demon brothers obviously trying to kill Kakashi, but it wouldn't work. Sasuke would catch the one with the foot right to the chin, and Naruto the other to a palm strike enhanced by chakra to the stomach. As both of them go flying back, Naruto would push 2 more air palms out, having them fly and wrap themselves basically around the tree by the chain. Obviously, they just let the chain go because that's something they can do, to separately fight Naruto and Sasuke. But the Demon Brothers are more tuning for their teamwork and not necessarily for their pure power. So Naruto obviously making 3 clones and Sasuke just throwing around a bunch of jutsu like the Flower Phoenix jutsu or the Fireball jutsu to basically trap his opponent and eventually just hit him. Naruto would make his 3 clones and just hit his opponent with air palms continuously to where his opponent would finally jump up and Naruto sees his opportunity with another clone coming from on top as basically the 4 from the bottom boost each other up and then kind of hit him as they're going up, with the last one kicking him all the way down to the floor, kind of knocking him out. All 5 clones in this case would disband to reveal the real Naruto's been standing next to Hinata all along, just to make sure that she's okay, since even though they haven't gotten together yet, the casual love for each other is there. I just like to point out, and this part's finally where we are going to get into that. But yeah, Kakashi would question Tazuna, and the team would agree to go on as long as Tazuna agrees to pay the rest as soon as the Land of Waves are back on their feet, and they would continue. Kakashi would obviously send his dogs back and tell the third Hokage about it and have Anbu come collect these 2, which they just encaptivated onto the tree, and they'd leave. Unbeknown to them, after they got there, or after they left, a girl or a boy in a mask would appear and then kill the 2 Demon Brothers and be off. The Anbu would later find the 2 dead Demon Brothers and would think that Kakashi killed them and just shrug it off, while Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata would be traveling across the giant river/ocean or whatever the hell that is, lake, I don't know, to get to the Land of Waves, and they're told to be quiet as usual, with Naruto and Sasuke arguing, but no one really cares. When they get there, Hinata with her with her Byakugan active would just scream "duck." As they duck, a giant sword comes flinging over them, with Hinata tackling Naruto to the ground just to make sure he's safe. She kind of land on top of him as they stare into each other's eyes romantically, and she obviously begins frantically blushing and then jumping up, falling on her butt after she does. Naruto would help her up. It's a cute little exchange when Zabuza would land on his sword, and Kakashi would say, "No time for you 2 lovebirds, get into formation." Hinata, Naruto, and Sasuke would all surround the bridge builder Tazuna, with Kakashi at the front. Kakashi would say, "Zabuza Momochi, Demon of the Mist," as he pulls down his basically his mouth cover to reveal his Sharingan, and Zabuza standing there. "Oh, what a surprise! Kakashi of the Sharingan. It's an honor to meet you." Hashtag Daddy Kakashi, Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, everyone knows Kakashi, let's go. But yeah, we'd have that small altercation and the fight would go as normal. By the time that Kakashi would get captured, it wouldn't go necessarily how it would go, with Zabuza still making the clone. But as the clone attacks, it would easily be handled by a combination of Naruto and Hinata and their perfect teamwork when it comes to the Jugen stance. They'd be able to take him out and put the clone out. Zabuza, being a little more cautious, would create 2 more clones. And Sasuke would obviously go in throwing a fireball jutsu, which was blocked by one of the 2 clones that now guard him, while Naruto has an idea. He'd basically create multiple shadow clones, sending them out while him and Hinata try to get as close as possible. Obviously, Zabuza would figure this out, and as Naruto would come up from the water, sneaky little rascal, with air palm, about to basically break Zabuza's arm with that pure amount of chakra. That's how Zabuza noticed Naruto is emanating too much chakra, so he'd use the basically rolling log technique, or the substitution jutsu, to be able to switch with the log, and yeah, or not with the log, in this case it was a clone. The clone would get destroyed, Kakashi would be freed, and the intercation would go as in canon, with Kakashi getting Zabuza really injured, and Naruto and Hinata stepping in every now and then. Sasuke throwing the occasional Phoenix Flower jutsu, because that's a lot better than the fireball. It's a lot more controlled, and you can attach chakra strings to it to manipulate where it goes, which Sasuke isn't going to do, by the way. It's just, I'd like to point that out. So Haku would eventually dive in, throwing him with a senbon. And as Kakashi falls down after Haku left, they'd have to take Kakashi to Tazuna's house, and Kakashi be like, "Oh shit, that wasn't a hunter nin. They're supposed to kill him on the spot." This would get the entire group in a hustle, and they're just trying to get to Tazuna's place. When they eventually get there, they would sit down to eat, where Naruto would encounter Inari. Instead of Inari having Inari would be the same, but Naruto's reply wouldn't be the same. Naruto would somewhat explain that he had no family. He was lonely until he met Hinata, and his new family became her family, and now that's what he needs to protect. Obviously, Inari would still throw his tantrum because, you have a family type of bullshit, even though Inari has a family. And that would still kind of create that situation as it did in canon, with them deciding that they have to go. Naruto and Hinata would sit outside having one of their casual conversations where they just talk about how they're feeling, because this is kind of the relationship they have right now, where they are each other's getaway from everything that's happening. Naruto obviously being a little furious that this little twerp is taking the people he has for granted, and Inari being pissed that Naruto thinks they're the same, shit like that, because, Inari's a swell piece of shit. Hinata would calm Naruto down, and they'd eventually go in and just sleep. The next day would just be a bunch of Hinata and Naruto helping Inari, with Sasuke just running around throwing shuriken because training, blah blah blah. But yeah, that day would also not be productive. But around the middle of that day, Kakashi would wake up to try and help them do something. So the training is going to be a lot different, since the entire group knows the basics of water and tree walking, which is the basics of chakra control. All of them have pretty good taijutsu, and he doesn't really know what to teach them per se. So what he decides to teach them is some more formation, but after a few hours of that, the team be like, "Yo, we already got these formations down. We've been doing this all month. Can we please move on to something else?" So, as I usually do, he'd actually, instead of teaching them the body flicker as I usually do, he's going to teach them the substitution jutsu, because I don't want to make them too OP out the start, and the body flicker is pretty much a really OP jutsu. So he's going to be teaching them, for once, and the only time ever, the substitution jutsu. I feel that Hinata would get this down pretty easy because of her Byakugan and chakra control, because he would hide the log random so that they could sense the log. Because if you don't know, for my what ifs, I usually go by legacy standards, and what would necessarily happen is they would have to put a chakra seal on the log to be able to switch with it. So somewhat of a summoning seal per se. Which means Kakashi would not only have to teach them how to create the summoning seal in this case, but also how to channel your chakra to activate a seal, which you keep either in your pouch or on your body, which is kind of like a once-off seal so that you can't really abuse it. So after you use the jutsu, both seals just vaporize. So quick fix, you can just create multiple, but it would be hard to manage in your head with the amount of chakra control they currently possess. So they're not going to have to abuse it, but at least they know the basics. So obviously the white rabbit they found earlier, which I didn't really mention, that goes to canon. Naruto would obviously throw a kunai into the bush to the white rabbit, which turns out is just a white rabbit, and Hinata would be like, "Naruto, you should not have done that. Cute little rabbit," and Naruto would apologize, shit like that. But obviously this was a substitution jutsu for Zabuza if he needed it. And I just say Naruto didn't notice the substitution seal. So this would go on, and eventually at the end of the week, Naruto and Sasuke would eventually be able to master this technique and able to actually do it. Sure, this takes a lot of chakra on Sasuke's end and a lot of concentration on Naruto's, but they will get it down. The encounter between them at the bridge, now that Kakashi is healed up, would still occur, with Zabuza and Haku there waiting for him. Naruto would not have had the same altercation with Haku. It would kind of have gone differently. When she found him there, he would not have been knocked out. He'd just been sitting there, so she wouldn't take the chance of pulling out a kunai or something to try and kill him. She'd just approach him like, "Yo, what's up?" And Naruto would just be like, "Nah, just training." And it would just be more civil conversation, not really the over-sexualized trap thing that happened in canon. which most people over-sexualize for some apparent reason. But whatever. We get to the altercation between them, with Haku needing to take care of basically the genin, being Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata, with Naruto and Hinata being the ones to take charge, seeing as Kakashi thought that Sasuke would be the most capable of guarding Tazuna. So just as the ice mirrors is going to happen, Naruto would shove Hinata out, with Sasuke knowing that Naruto wouldn't be able to take care of it himself. He told Hinata to lay back. She decides to go protect the bridge builder while Sasuke actually rushes into the mirrors, which then he would not be able to come out of because of Haku. We'd have a similar thing go on in canon, but with Naruto actually landing a few blows on a Haku with the air palm, and sometimes even just a Jugen blast, which is just chakra going directly from your hand into someone else's body, kind of stunning some of Haku's muscles instead of her chakra points, or his chakra points, since Naruto doesn't actually precisely know where the chakra points are, because it could kind of differ depending on someone's body size and shape, all that type of stuff. Plus, Naruto thinking it was a girl would also mess that up, kind of, but whatever. Naruto would eventually get hit a few times, and Sasuke would jump in front of him, not really knowing why he does so, but he jumps in front of Naruto, having Naruto go out in a rage. Sasuke in this time would obviously have unlocked his Sharingan and been able to dodge quite a few of the blows, but as he sees a partial prediction of the future, with Naruto getting hit straight in the chest or in the heart, his heart would stop and he'd die. Sasuke would dive in front of him, getting critically injured but not enough to actually die. He'd pass out. Having Naruto think that he is dead, Naruto would go out in a rage. Sure, they didn't have the intercation that made them close in canon, but this is kind of gonna replace that moment, with Naruto seeing that Sasuke was willing to give his life for him, even though they weren't friends, they barely even talked, they didn't really like each other. He would rage out. He would start getting a red aura around him. No tails, it's just the normal red aura, with only barely of the 9 tails chakra leaking. He'd get his scars or his whisker marks would increase in thickness, and his eyes would go red. He'd start screaming, and as his chakra just pours out, he would push his arms out, sending chakra from every piece of his body, shattering the mirrors, having Haku jump out only to be hit by him from every angle. As he travels at unseeing speeds, Haku could not understand this. But as he goes around her, he hits her with air palms, Jugen strikes, everything you could imagine, putting Haku in the worst condition he could possibly be. But as Naruto was about to land the final blow, Haku heard something. It was a whistle. I know I have a dyslexic whistle, but whatever. He'd hear a whistle. And then he'd use his last trick. He'd disappear from Naruto's sight as Naruto would frantically look around to see him in front of Zabuza. Zabuza and Kakashi had been fighting all along, with Kakashi eventually being able to pull off a summoning dog, or his dog summonings, to keep Zabuza in place as he was about to strike him with a lightning blade. As this was about to happen, Haku jumped in front of, or somewhat teleported in front of Zabuza, tanking the Chidori, dying. As this happens, a new group would appear. This would appear as the mist starts going away. This would obviously be Gato and his goons. So we'd still get the altercation of Zabuza wanting to fight, being in a little worse condition because of the first altercation. He'd just be out for Gato and not entirely of the entirety of his crew. And eventually, when he does kill Gato, which he does, Naruto, Sasuke, and Naruto and Hinata in this case would have to take care of the rest of the thugs. And Naruto finally discovering that he can use the 9 tails power for some reason, with Hinata pointing it out since she used her Byakugan to keep an eye inside of the thing, and she'd point out that he was growing ears and a tail. It didn't fully manifest, but it was growing. And this would obviously make Naruto think of the 9 tails fox. So about a week would pass, and they would head back to the Leaf after the bridge was finished, and Naruto would have still given the speech he did, inspired everyone, and this would cause the bridge to be called the Great Naruto Bridge. That's not really going to change. Inari would apologize to Naruto. They defeated the person that killed his father, even though it's not his father, but whatever. They'd go home, and on the way there, Hinata would basically say that she was worried about Naruto. Naruto would start blushing and tell her not to really worry, and they'd continue back to the leaf. Just as they were about to enter the gates of the leaf, Naruto stopped. Kakashi and Sasuke continued not noticing it, but Hinata would stay back. Kakashi and Sasuke would already be signing back in, but wouldn't really mind Naruto or Hinata since they kind of do their own thing. As they stand there just looking at the entrance to the leaf, Hinata would ask him, "Naruto, what's wrong?" Naruto would say that this really changed what he thought. Sasuke, someone he barely knows, sacrificed himself for him. And this really made him thought that if he had lost someone like Hinata, he could probably kill countless people with a rage like that. He could go full nine tails. This is when Hinata would finally make the first move. She'd push forward, slightly having her lips touch his. In a romantic and passionate kiss, she'd say, "Don't worry, Naruto. I'll never leave you." Naruto would obviously turn bright red, and soon after Hinata as well, being kind of a weird altercation, them heading back into the leaf, kind of not really talking no more. And when they get to the Hyuga compound to tell Hiyashi what happened, Kakashi would obviously fill in the mission report because he's the sensei, it's kind of his job. They'd explain to Hiyashi how it went, and Hiyashi would obviously look at both of them red-faced and be like, "You two kissed, didn't you?" This would cause an entirely different reaction. They'd both just go pale. And this more than confirms both Hiyashi and Hinata's old bodyguard suspicion, even Hiyashi's brother or Neji's father, and they just end up laughing because, "Yo, you're finally a couple." And both of them would then stop because they were finally telling them to stop laughing. And they think. This would obviously cause a silence in the room, and Hiyashi was like, "You don't know what you are yet, do you?" They'd look at each other and then just raise their shoulders because what can they really say? Everyone would leave the room for Naruto and Hinata to talk, and after a few minutes of silence, Naruto would finally break the silence. "Hinata, what are we?" Naruto would obviously say, with Hinata kind of mellowing down from her red-faced tomato self and being like, "I don't know, but all I can tell you is I love you, Naruto." And this would obviously cause another moment, one last kiss for this part, and yeah, they'd officially be a couple. But that has been it, guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed. This has been part 3 to what if Naruto and Hinata got together early. Make sure to check 12 to 13 hours from now, maybe even 14 hours. I'm not all that sure. Depends on stake. But another theory video is coming out on the Ryushin realm, or how the Shadow Dragons will return from Dragon Ball. Also, check out our beautiful editor, Stake in the link in the description, the Dragon Lord, who created our intro and outro. And yeah, this has been your boy Six. Peace.